All right, Grasshoppers. This is a real honor for me today. The gentleman you see in front of me, in front of us, is Bob Pizzini. Served in the Navy, won the Bronze Star in the Navy as well. For you people who don't know, I'll let Bob describe it probably a little bit better than I can, but it's basically for heroism in the line of duty. Is that pretty accurate saying it that way?
Yeah, it's in the line of duty, almost 100% of the time in a war zone or an armed conflict.
Right. Do you mind talking about what happened with you that you were awarded that?
Yeah, sure. So I did about an 8-month deployment to Iraq, 2008, 2009. I was assigned to a special operations unit. Explosive ordnance disposal, EOD, is my specialty. IEDs were a big threat at the time, obviously, and I was assigned to a unit that was taking out the bomb factories, the bomb makers, and then collecting that evidence and tracing it back to origin, which involves many countries around the world. So it was a significant component of the overall mission at that time. But the Bronze Star that I won, or that I was awarded, pales in comparison to some of the other actions that I've seen others do. And I'm just glad I was able to make a contribution to the team.
Yeah. So just a little background too. Bob and I are both on there. I think I've spoken to you about it before. There's a Warrior for Life Fund. I started off down in Virginia Beach, and I was so fortunate to get invited to go down there. We played a great charity, a little fun game. I guess it's a charity game. And Bob and his son was playing too. Your one son, correct?
Yeah. So my son, I got my broomstick here from that. So my son is sorry, Tom. It's my broomstick. Nobody gave me a ranger. Yeah. But he's high school now, and I coach his team, and it's just incredible, funnest thing in the world. The picture of me, you, and him, we cherish.
Yeah, that's good. That was a great time. I had a great weekend. So just a little recap. So there's this Warrior for Life Fund. A lot of the military are based there in Virginia Beach. I wasn't fully aware how many people were down there. And a lot of guys are coming back, and they really found it's very therapeutic for guys to get on the ice. Guys with PTSD, or just guys that want to be part of the team again. So the rink they have down there is kind of dilapidated. It's just a low roof and everything like that. So we got together with Warrior for Life Fund. Again, be honored to be part of it. And it's to raise money to either fix up the current building or preferably build a new one. And Bob is really tied in with the community there and is really not leading the charge, but you play a big role, especially dealing with the city down there too, correct?
Yeah, for sure. So what we want to do is build a new 2-sheet facility. Hockey, as you know, and probably all your Grasshoppers know, has exploded in the country in the last 20 years. Membership in USA Hockey between players, coaches, referees, almost 700,000. It's higher than any other youth sport. And hockey is a thing in the South. I mean, there were no rinks in Nashville 20 years ago. There's 10 rinks there now, to include Bridgestone. And so hockey kind of passed us by here in Virginia Beach. And our rink is old and our rink is tired. We take good care of it, but we're ready to grow and expand. So thanks to you and some others for sitting on our board and helping us raise funds. The city is going to donate about 10 acres of land, and then it's up to us to do the rest. And we're in the final throes of that negotiation with the city, and then the fundraising efforts really start. We need to raise $12 million. Our hockey program is a 501c3. It's all foundation based. So nobody's getting rich off of this other than the community and bringing hockey to people who otherwise probably wouldn't be able to do it. We can't wait to get going. I want to hit another thing you said too, because I experienced this personally. In the war zone, we're hyper vigilant. You have to be. And when we come back from those deployments, you don't want to be hyper vigilant at home with your wife and your kids. So getting on the ice provides a pretty good relief. You can get out there and, really get after it, so to speak, help get it out of your system.
We're going to talk a little bit more about what Bob's doing now, but as you can tell, he's a pretty powerful speaker. I remember we sat down in the boardroom the first time and you started talking, and I was like, wow, this guy's good. Like, you really have a great way of, you're motivational, just by what you've done and the way you speak, your confidence and all the stuff you're doing. So great to have you. So when I was down in Virginia Beach, we had a fun night after, a couple of adult beverages. And then we went over to Bob's. He's got the iFly. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, iFly Virginia Beach indoor skydiving.
Oh, so it's the wind tunnel, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm the only. I guess Frank Simonetti was there too. So he was the other civilian. The rest of the guys are all like Navy SEALs and guys in the Navy and all that kind of stuff. And I'd never done this flying before. and I don't think I probably ever told you the story, but when the instructor gets us all together, tells us the basics and everything, and then he says, okay, who wants to go first? And I'm thinking to myself, I'm not going to sit there and watch these other guys that have done this over and over. And then I get in there and look like an idiot. So I said, I'm going first. I didn't want to be sitting there watching, so I dove in first. It was pretty funny. My thought process was like, I'm not waiting around because these guys are all going to look good. You got in there and you were spinning around the whole bit. That was a blast. That was a great experience.
Yeah, oh, you did good though. I remember your first fight. You did good. I could see you in there. You were thinking too. You were like, man, I'm going to get this. I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah. Well, all the little things like the instructors, like getting the hands up right. And I was really surprised how just a little bit of movement with your hands really affected your direction you're going and everything too. So that was cool. That was a great time. Thank you for having us. That was good.
Yeah, that's great. No, that's our metaphor in leadership and other things is that in the military, that little movement can really have a big effect.
That's very cool. That's right. So, so Bob, now, again, I think you're like, I'm a big believer that we're not given any gift when we're born. You aren't something you kind of train your body, you train your mind. And it appears that your life, you have become, in the roles you've been in, you become a leader. A lot of things, like I said, when you're even in that room, when we were all talking, you were one of the leaders in that room, and you could really shows with you. And now you've started your own little business where you're now teaching other people about leadership. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I sure can. So, in the military, you grow up with leadership, right? You have to attend leadership training and you have to be in leadership roles before you can promote to the next level. And the military allows you to fail somewhat as a leader, so the lessons are really well learned as well. So fast forward, after I retired, I'm 6 years into my private sector experience. I have a company with 40 people, and I was looking for leadership training for mainly my management team, six people on my management team. And we went to Franklin Covey and we went to Dale Carnegie and we did a few other things. And that stuff's good. I'm certainly not knocking that. But I didn't find that real specific foundational building leadership that I grew up with. So I put something together for my team. I presented it. They responded very well. And I believe leadership is perishable. So we revisit this on a regular basis. People outside the organization saw what I was doing and they said, man, take that to market. They said, there's nothing out there like that. And on top of that, I really enjoy doing it. I enjoy leading. I enjoy being led as well. So although I'm a head coach this year, I was an assistant coach for many years on the ice because I didn't want to be the guy in charge, So anyway, I put this together. It's called Elevate Your Leadership with Bob Pizzini. And if we do it, COVID kind of messed things up a little bit, but when we do it the way it was designed, we do it at iFly Virginia Beach, and we incorporate flight time into a full day leadership experience. Now I've pivoted with COVID, and I'm doing 2 hours a day for 3 days in webinar format. But the summary there is, if I didn't believe in leadership, I wouldn't have had the military career that I had, and I certainly would not own and operate a multi-million-dollar business.
Right. And where did your leadership start? Like, did you play sports a lot when you were a kid? Was it the military, or where did that all come from?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it got real when I was in the military. As a kid, I played every sport there was as a kid. Just, I'm sure you did too. And
you're a good hockey player too. You're very good in the ice there too.
So, started out as a goalie, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
So, but and then I was a scuba diver as a young man. I grew up watching the undersea world of Jacques Cousteau, and I was fascinated by that. And when I turned 18, you could enlist and I could become a Navy diver. Holy cow, I can be a Navy diver. And so that's what I did. I enlisted at the age of 18, became a Navy diver. And in Navy diving, it's as real as it gets. You're out there in the open ocean, 300 feet, whatever the dive profile is. And as a very young man, I'm in charge of very complex diving operations. So you have to take leadership serious. Your teammates' lives literally depend on it.
Yeah, it's funny for me because I grew up in a little farm boy. Really, I really wasn't very open or social. I was always named a captain on my team or assistant captain, more because I led more like with my skill, not necessarily skill, my work ethic and all that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until probably when I got to college, and I was really. It's funny how things kind of fall. Like you fell into something. You decided to join the Navy. And you were put in a position now where you had to lead. And when I went to college, I went to Northern Michigan a long time ago, 1976. And it's the first year they had a hockey program. It was the first year I went there. So there's no upperclassmen to show us around or anything like that. And it's a funny, it's kind of stupid story, really, in some ways. But I'll never forget, we all think we're like big man on campus, we're hockey players. Or
in Michigan, heck yeah.
But we get there, and nobody knows we even have a team yet when we're first here because we haven't played a game yet even. So we got invited to go to a dorm, a bunch of girls at the dorm. It's probably like 10 or 15 guys. And we all got to the door. It's hilarious thinking about it because we're all these tough hockey players. We got to the door. Everybody's afraid to open the door to go in because we're like all these freshmen and all these girls are on the other side. And I had this 15 seconds of just courage come over me, So I opened the door, and it was such a big deal. But it's kind of funny thinking back about how something like those kinds of things happen to you, especially when you're a young man, and you've got to make decisions. Okay, I'm going to lead here.
Yeah.
And now you're training your mind over. Don't you think there's a lot of just like you can train your body, you train your mind to be that leader?
Now, there's no question about it. And what a great question. Because for me, leadership is a perishable skill. Just like a hockey player has to practice, just like a musician rehearses, leaders have to constantly revisit the foundation and the tools of leadership. I had somebody ask me the other day in one of my leadership seminars. He said, isn't leadership like riding a bike? You learn how and you don't forget. And I said, well, if you ride that bike once a year or twice a year, then you've gotten as good as you're ever going to get at riding that bike. But if you get on that bike every day, or if you practice new things with that bicycle every week, you're going to continually get better and better and better throughout your entire life. And that's what leadership is. Right. It's this constant learning, this constant evolution. And I link it directly with something called lifelong learning. Not my term, obviously, but lifelong leaders are lifelong learners.
Yeah. Isn't that true? Man, I got to tell you, since I got on all this True Grit Life stuff, my diet constantly improves, my workouts constantly improve, my dealings with people. Like every time I do something, it seems like I've learned something, especially hanging around with you guys. And seriously, it's true. I just think, and we were talking about before the show, how I was took part in that swim across the Hudson with some of the Navy SEALs. And actually, some of your buddies were there as well. I didn't realize that.
I didn't know you were there. I wish I'd have known that. I'd have made some links.
Yeah, good. All right, next time we'll do it next year.
Yeah.
But it's like every time you're around them, we talked about it. I think when people have done things in their life, they've had to study, they've had to learn, whatever it is. It's the military, sports, career, relationships, whatever. You learn things along the way, right? And you now get more confident in yourself. And now you're dealing with people. Like I feel like for me, I feel like I'm a better person than I've ever been, both physically and mentally. So when I deal with other people, like I'm more willing to really engage with them. Like I'm not worried about myself anymore. And I see so much with military, you guys in the military, that's one of the common themes, right? When you're a part of that team, like in battle, you're not necessarily fighting to keep yourself alive. You're fighting to keep your teammate alive. And you go through those things, I think, and it gives you that license to be that confident man like you are in dealing with people. To me, it's that learn, to say, like part of the reason, I went on that TV show Survivor was that I was 60 years old, and I wanted to show that just because I'm 60, I'm not going to quit getting better in life and doing new things, right?
Sure.
Yeah, I love that mentality. So.
Yeah, no, you hit on a couple things that are key. One of them is, you said that your health is as good as it's been, and your energy and your mental clarity, and that's something I learned actually recently, and it's part of my leadership offering. If you're a leader, rest, hydration, nutrition, exercise, brain and heart health, and lifelong learning are key to your daily functioning as a leader. Key. But how much water do you drink on a daily basis? Most people don't know that. How much water should you drink on a daily basis? Most people don't know that. If you're dehydrated, your mental clarity is not as good as it could be. All these little things that take guys like me and you who are beyond our 50th birthday, obviously. And it keeps us sharp. It keeps us optimized for the rest of our professional lives. The other thing you mentioned many times now is team, and that's what it's all about. It's good teammates become good leaders, and good leaders develop good teammates. It's been my experience, and it's been awesome.
I tell you, when you touch on the diet, I'm sure like a lot of people, right? When you're in your 20s, you feel like you can eat anything you want, drink anything you want, and I guess you do get away with it because you're younger. But I guess since I've learned more about my diets, like getting the stuff like the turmeric and ginger, and you're eating avocados and bananas and all those kinds of stuff. Like a lot of people laugh at me now because I used to have this bad habit. Like every 3 months, I don't know where it would come from, I get the desire to eat Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah. Oh, I know where it comes from.
and I just would have to have it. And I wouldn't buy just like a 3-piece meal. I'd buy like the 20-piece bucket. So I'd eat chicken for a week. And then I'd I'd feel awful after, right? And now the thought of eating Kentucky Fried Chicken, because of I cleaned up my diet and my whole lifestyle. And I know you know this too. It's not just the diet too, right? It's the whole lifestyle. It's your mental outlook on things, your discipline. I think discipline's such a big thing. And to be that leader. Now again, I just feel like the better your lifestyle is, it's so much like you now can lead other people because you're feeling better about yourself too, right?
Absolutely right. And you're a much better leader. They also see that in you. They're more willing to be good followers because they've got greater respect for that leader who clearly has self-control, who clearly is living the example or the expectation, setting the expectation, so to speak. And it gives great comfort and confidence to those under your charge to see you in that capacity. Nobody never be the leader who has storm clouds over your head. Yeah. Somebody says, I'm not, stay away from Bob today. Obviously he's having an off day. You never want to be that person.
Isn't that true? Right. I mean, like if you're leading that disciplined life and everything, your every day should be a day that you're on, right? You're going into work, people are counting on you. And for people to say, don't go near me, he's having a bad day. That's your fault as a leader, right?
For sure. And that's you being in control of yourself. And again, when I talk about rest, hydration, nutrition, exercise, brain and heart health especially, that's how you really get and maintain control of yourself. And you also have this kind of 360-degree vision, this awareness. Literally, when your heart rate accelerates, if somebody comes in and says, Tom, you're not going to believe that the most terrible thing in the world just happened. A lot of people's tendency is to, grab the chair and go, how the hell did that happen? When you do that, your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up, your blink rate goes up, your vision literally narrows. This is your sympathetic nervous system, right? Fight, flight, or freeze. It's kicking in. And you lose clarity at that moment as a leader. But if you know that and you control that, stop and breathe is what you always hear people say, right? Well, I'm sure the meditations and the breathing processes that activate your parasympathetic, expands your vision, slows your blink rate, slows your pulse rate, and allows you to see the big picture and understand. Leaders need to be in control of themselves in that capacity, and then they can truly lead.
See, that's fantastic stuff. I love that because I still have stuffer, but like all these things, like people come to me like with intermittent fasting and talking about that kind of stuff. And I finally now got onto that, and I see how much I feel much more mentally clearer. And people talk about how that can happen with intermittent fasting. But the breathing and calming yourself down. When I went on the TV show Survivor, I had a trainer, a good friend of mine, and he started training me. And he's really big into all that too. Like I would walk into a room and he would have 5 rings of different colors sitting on the floor, or he'd have something written down and then I'd read it and then he'd erase it. And then he'd get me on the bike and I would get my heart rate elevated, or he would aggravate me in some way. And I could memorize before I got on the bike, I could memorize the order those rings were in. But once I got on the bike and elevated my heart rate, yes, I wasn't thinking clearly enough. He would have me memorize a poem and I could say the poem right straight through. As soon as I elevated my heart rate, I couldn't remember the poem anymore. So it was interesting that practice it and actually see it happening. And then he would say, okay, well, how do you stop that from happening? Like you said, that's stopping and taking those deep breaths and really calming down. And it's amazing that, like in my late 50s, I played in the NHL for 11 years. I didn't know that stuff. I didn't know my body was reacting that way. And now all of a sudden, I'm learning, right? So.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. My whole professional life, Navy Special Operations, we PT, we jump out of airplanes, we dive the depths of the oceans, and your body talks to you and your brain talks to you too. And most of the time I didn't clearly understand the communication. Now that I'm educated in all this stuff, now that I do yoga, now that I understand sympathetic, parasympathetic, neuroplasticity, these are things I wish I would have learned 30 years ago, because I could have really been in the driver's seat a lot more.
Isn't that true though? I mean, it's just the stuff that, I guess that's just life, right? That is the point. We're learning all the time, always getting better. You just look back and say, geez, I wish I had learned it like when I was 25 years old or something like that. But I'm really big on too, talking mainly in terms of sports teams, like tiers of leadership. So like, in the hockey sense, you've got the captain of the team and you got assistant captains. And I always thought it was really important that that assistant captain really understands his role and how to support the captain, right? So the captain is kind of the guy that he's guiding the ship. He's leading people, but he's not dealing with the minutia all the time, right? Like, so the boss, and I guess in a business sense, has to have people underneath him that make sure what he wants to have the tempo of the company or the team that assistant captain is there to make sure that happens, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I don't. First of all, the leadership team has to be unified. They all have to be on the same page. And they can have dynamic tension and have disagreement, but when it's game time, hey, we're all on the same page. And I'm not sure if this analogy applies to hockey, but it applies kind of to what you're talking about. In the military, we have what are called 3 levels of warfare. So you have the tactical level of warfare. Those are the frontline troops that are pulling the trigger, that are getting the tactical level work done. You have the operational level. This is kind of your assistant captain, so to speak. They facilitate. They say, okay, this platoon's going to go here, that platoon's going to go there, and at the end of the day, this is the mission we're going to accomplish. But that mission and other missions that are ultimately assigned come from what's called the strategic level, or the coach level, or the CEO level. They set strategy. Right. So you have the strategic level, the strategy is set. You have the operational level where plans are developed to execute the strategy. And then you have the tactical level where the strategy is actually executed.
That's pretty cool. You talk about your son's favorite team being the Bruins. And obviously my Rangers are my team and the Kings that I played on. But the Bruins, the way they run their organization, like with Zdeno Chara or Patrice Bergeron, like to me, I've talked about all the time where I think that's part of the reason. I don't think they're a better hockey team necessarily than anybody else, but they've got that leadership there. And it just seems like you walk in that locker room, and particularly Chara and Patrice Bergeron, they've determined how that team's going to operate. Like like initiation used to be a big thing in the National Hockey League, and it was hazing then. Now it's like rookie dinners and all that kinds of stuff. Yeah. Okay. But it was interesting to listen to Chara talk, that no, if you come on my team, you're on the team. Doesn't matter you're your first year in the league or your 20th year in the league. You're on my team now, and we're all going to get treated equally. But at the same time, that first year player has to know how to respect those older players too. So I admire that attitude, like I talk about with the military guys, where they're, as a leader, you're so confident in yourself because you put in the work. Like Zdeno Chara, for example, his work ethic is impeccable. So when he comes to the rink, he knows he's done the work. He's a confident hockey player, a confident man. So when he deals with those other people, he doesn't need to have initiation or hazing on his team. They're like that. I think that stuff was done more to help those older guys maybe feel better about themselves, where they push that young guy down. Like the real strong leader pulls people up with him. What do you think?
The military went through the exact same evolution. Back when I made chief, 100 years ago, which is a pretty big promotion, there literally hazing was the order of the day. And the military went through a big transformation a while ago, and it is more of that dinner format. But it is, hey, you're now in this leadership role. You're expected to lead, and here's how we lead. So we start setting the good examples. It's ironic you mentioned Bergeron and Zdeno Chara. When we were up there for the event, for the New York event, we got a picture right in front of the hotel with both of those guys, my son and Chara and Bergeron. Yeah, I got a picture with both of them. Cool.
They're class guys. Wow, great guys.
That's the coolest picture we have next to the one with you.
Well, next time we'll try to get it all together. We'll get Chara and myself and your son and you and I. That'd be good.
That'd be awesome.
So, okay, one more time. We still got some time here, but so how would people get a hold of you if they want to participate in these classes?
Yeah, so the easiest way would be to visit my website, robertpizzini.com. I actually should have done my name label there, but robertpizzini.com. You can just Google Robert Pizzini. I have a pretty visible social presence. So Robert Pizzini, Pizzini. Actually, it's on the screen there. Yep. So robertpizzini.com, and you can learn about my leadership offerings and some of the other things that I'm involved with.
Okay, we went into your office there at iFly, and they're outside the boardroom. One of the coolest pictures I've seen. You've got the picture there where you've got the beard going on. You're all geared up. You're out in the desert there someplace. I've got a picture of that one actually too. I'm going to post that sometime. But
that's Iraq. That was during my time in Iraq.
How many years did you serve?
26 years.
Oh, did you really? 26? I didn't realize that. Wow.
Yeah, 26. And I'll tell you what, if I was 18, I'd do it again. And it went by quick. There were a couple years there that I would say sucked, but 24 of the 26 years were incredible.
Right. And how many times were you over to Iraq? How many times did you go over?
Just only one deployment to Iraq, deployed in, all other parts of the world, Eastern Europe, Middle East, Asia. I spent 5 years in the Asian theater, a lot of counterterrorism operations and counterproliferation operations, interdiction, things of that nature.
So a lot of your stuff, you're going in there, like you said, and you're the bomb makers, you're going in there to get the bombs out of there so they can't make the bombs anymore, and then determine who those people are, right? Where they come from. Yeah,
it's all aspects. It's so we had this acronym F3EAD. So find, fix, finish. So find the cells of bad people, get a good fix on them, come up with a plan to engage, finish it, and then exploit. So exploit all of the materials and intelligence that are present, analyze and disseminate, get all that information out there.
So how long ago were you done then?
So I retired in 2010. So I retired 10 years ago.
Okay, good. How were you mentally and physically when you got done?
That's a great question. I was beat up and I didn't know it. I was banged up physically and mentally. I was more drained than I wanted to admit. And it took me probably 5 or 6 years to say, I need to get some help. I just, I had this mental fog and I didn't have the energy, and, every movement I did hurt, and I should have quit running years ago, but I couldn't quit running because I was addicted, but it was the worst thing I could do for my body. And so soon after that, I was lucky to be able to go to this veterans program called the Marcus Institute for Brain Health. And 3 weeks in Aurora, Colorado at an outpatient clinic, 8 hours a day, strenuous activity, really focused on brain and heart health more than anything else, screening for PTSD and TBI. Right. And luckily, I've got TBI, you've got TBI. The mildest form of TBI is concussion. Right. But luckily, I didn't take any of those real serious hits in the combat zone like a lot of my teammates did.
Yeah, I had several concussions too, and back when we played, we didn't even call them concussions. You spend the night in the hospital, and they say, "Oh, okay, you ready to go?" Just you got a headache. That's the way it is.
Right. Yeah, but then when you can't hit your mouth with the spoon at the age of 50, that's when that stuff really adds up.
I enjoy, like we talked, I enjoy the discipline and the fitness the life I'm living now. But there's part of it too that I think to myself, okay, if I do have brain damage, then I think the healthier I keep myself, the better it is for me, right? My father had dementia when he passed away. My mother had some mental health issues. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm not going to live that way. I'm going to go all out, keep myself.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we're all moving in that direction. Yeah. Some just move in that direction faster than others. And if we're very conscious of brain and heart health, we can slow the onset of those things. When I was at this place at the Marcus Institute for Brain Health, a lot of the things that they had me do as I think I was 52 or 53 at the time, but there were also professional athletes going through the same program. But a lot of these treatment protocols were originally designed for elderly people who are starting to have a reduction in their functionality. And I'll just give you a quick example. If you're walking down the street and there's a slight incline, your brain and your body just automatically leans forward a little bit, recenters yourself, and you just keep walking. You don't stop and think about, how am I going to walk up that little incline, right? But as you get older, your brain's ability to process that and then communicate it to the rest of your body attrites, it reduces. And as we exercise these things, we strengthen ourselves. We gain that strength back. So just little things like that. So they have you do all these little things that keep your brain constantly challenged, which keeps it strong, and it communicates to the rest of your body. It's just super cool stuff.
Isn't that cool? Like I've learned now too that like when I'm working out, like I do all my exercises on like 95% of my exercises on a BOSU ball. So now I've got to concentrate on like really getting my mind and my muscle, concentrate on tightening my core. Like I find I get so much more out of it. Like when I'm done halfway through my workout, I'm jacked, like mentally jacked. It's not physically jacked. I'm just so into the workout now because I've realized instead of just going through the motions, add to it, always be trying to increase, the level of difficulty and all that kind of stuff. So I love that stuff.
Yeah, when you challenge your brain like that, so there's something called neuroplasticity. When you elevate, and I learned this out there at Marcus as well, when you elevate your heart rate to 60 to 85% of your age recommended maximum, and age recommended max for all the athletic nuts out there, it's 220 minus your age is your age recommended max. So for me, that's 166 beats per minute. But when I elevate my heart rate to 60 to 85% of that, neuroplasticity in your brain functions like someone flipped a light switch. neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to grow, change, adapt, and heal. So you talk about being on that Bosu ball, you're challenging yourself mentally as well as physically. You're elevating your heart rate. You're doing the best thing you can do to maintain and advance brain health.
It's unbelievable too. You know what I've also learned, like you talk about diet, I've really got into the apple cider vinegar too. Apparently like the brain health, and like I talked about the fasting, like it's interesting learning those things, that how you can affect your brain, but what you put in your body and how, and when you put the stuff in your body too, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, when I talk about rest, hydration, nutrition, right? So I call those the 6 critical factors of leadership, by the way. And I express them in this Venn, right? 6 intersecting circles, because all of them affect the others, either positively or negatively. But what I learned in 3 or 4 years ago is how to eat the right way throughout the day. So you don't hit this trough at 2 p.m. where you can barely keep your eyes open, and the mental fog just totally takes you out for the rest of the day. Now I'm energized through the end of the day. I look at my watch and it's 5 o'clock and I'm like, holy cow, where'd the day go? And nutrition enables that. It's not difficult. And then there's food prepping and things of that nature. I prep my food now. Yeah, it takes a little time. Yeah, you got to go to the grocery store and buy the right stuff, but I feel the benefits mentally and physically. And for me, I'm doing it.
That's the thing. Yeah. Like for me, like I say to people, like I get up at 3:30 in the morning, and I don't say to people, listen, you've got to get up at 3:30 in the morning. For me, it's that whole discipline. It's making the bed perfect. It's and that all along that goes with that diet, right? It's like, once you, and the key for me too, I think it's important for people to know they don't have to be like you. They don't have to be like me. They just have to be a better version of themselves tomorrow. And that's with everything, right? Their diet and their fitness and their mental health. Yeah.
That's it. I was working with somebody this morning, and this is an overweight woman, and because she's overweight, she lacks confidence, and she has some other challenges. And I said, Lisa, just go walk 2 miles today. You don't need to run. You don't need to be a bodybuilder. You don't need to do a marathon, and don't worry about what the scale says.
Yes. No kidding.
Get your heart rate up and get out there and get that neuroplasticity turned on and activate some sympathetic and parasympathetic, and let your body do what it was designed to do. I saw a presentation by this one researcher, and he said that all the neuroreceptors in your brain are designed to intake the chemicals that your brain and your body release. Right. And those are the most powerful chemicals that could ever be taken up in your brain. And if those chemicals could be put in a pill, that would be the best pill on the planet. Right. So making your body do what it was designed to do, I think it's done through exercise, it's done through mental challenge.
And do you think too, somebody explained to me the physical reaction to this too, that the way you live your life, like there's a great Shawnee warrior chief, this Tecumseh, and he has all these poems. It was in the movie Act of Valor, and it was some real Navy SEALs in it. And this one guy was a big fan of this Tecumseh. And the one poem, this Tecumseh, he's a great writer too, this warrior chief. And he talked about how to beautify your life. And I thought that was, at first I thought, beautify my life. I don't talk like that. Beautify my life. I'm a guy. I don't talk like beautify my life. Now I think like that's glorious, right? And what I find is like if I'm going for a march out someday, so when I walk, I try to get the most out of each stride. So I call it a march. And if I'm passing, especially now with the pandemic, there's a lot of other people are walking. So if I pass somebody, like to me, I make a real effort to say hello to that person. Now I can see where maybe it's intimidating for a woman or something like that, so I try to be careful with it. But somebody's walking down the street and they pass and there's nobody else around. I think it's incumbent upon me to interact with that person. And then once they stop and go, oh wow, yeah, that's pretty cool. This guy's talking to me. Like you feel better about yourself. I find once I do that, I leave, I'm walking away, I'm going, wow, that's pretty cool.
So random acts of kindness, do it every day. My son just craziest thing in the world. Yesterday, my son and my daughter are twins, they're the same age. And my daughter asked my son, Dominic, she said, Dominic, can you help me with my math? And he's like, oh, I got to do this and I got to do that and I got to do the other thing and I still got to do my homework. And I was like, son, whenever somebody asks you for help, you should say yes. Yeah. The answer should be yes. Yeah. Now go help your sister. And he did. And everybody was happy after that and everybody felt great, but yeah, random acts of kindness. I've heard this all my life. It took me a while to figure it out and experience it, but the more you give, the more you get.
Yeah.
No question about that.
Absolutely, totally true. And it may not always happen right away. It may not, like, it may take months or whatever. Like, then all of a sudden things are going to start coming your way because of the way you've treated other people, right? Because people now are going to, when they've met you and they go, like I say, like, you're the same way. If I go to make a presentation to somebody or talk to somebody or just be in a podcast or whatever, I'm going to give them my best effort. I want them to see the best that Tom Laidlaw has to give, right? So when they walk away, they go, "Wow, that guy, that's pretty cool," right? And then they're feeling about better themselves because now I've gone out of my way to make them feel better. So I think that's fantastic stuff. So
yeah, it's cool. No, that's I got to say that was my experience the first time you and I met, and
well, same way. It was a two-way street. Yeah, you're good. You're great. We had a great time that weekend. So, well, listen, I don't know about you. I'd like to do this more often. I don't want to keep you. I know you got a busy schedule and all that kind of stuff, but we will try to get together once a week or something. We'll have little chats like this. I think it's very rewarding. So,
yeah, hey, I'd love to talk to you anytime. But I got okay. So you're a great interviewer, great questions, great discussion. I got one question for you. What's going to happen tonight?
Well, Tampa's record after losing in the playoffs is 6-0 so far. And once they lost again, the next game they win. I think Tampa's really learned how to win, and they realized they didn't play their best game last game, so they're going to be sitting there going, "Okay, listen, we know how to win." They'll get back to us. I love Dallas, how hard they've hung in there, but I think Tampa, and I'm going to say Tampa wins by 3 or 4 goals too. So.
Okay, all right. I'm pulling for Tampa. John Cooper, Coach Cooper, used to coach the Norfolk Admirals here. I was there in 2012 when they won the Calder Cup. So,
oh, cool! I didn't know that. That's right. That's cool.
Yeah.
The big thing I think would be hilarious. I know every time you see Gary Bettman come out and hand out the Stanley Cup, the crowd's always booing. It doesn't matter who it's, the home team or visiting team. Obviously, there's not going to be a crowd there tonight. I did a podcast earlier this morning with Kevin Allen. I do it with every Monday and Wednesday, and I'm really pushing. I hope that they pump in some booing noise when he comes out there. Like, it'd have to be his idea, right? And he's got a great sense of humor. But I think that'd be classic.
Completely classic. That most appropriate for sure.
Okay, well, let's if you're okay with let's try around and do this every week. We can do it every Monday in the afternoon, see what our schedules are, and I think it's been very rewarding, and hopefully we can pass on the stuff to our leaders or our followers. One more time. RobertPizzini.com.
That's it. Appreciate it.
Perfect. And I'll post that on my website too, on Facebook, along with this video too. So we'll get her done. Good job. Great to talk to you again.
Okay. Hey, thanks. See ya.
All right, bud. Talk.